All right, students, today we are going to solve right triangles. Let's begin with a 45 degree triangle. We know that if the legs are, let's give them an arbitrary variable x, the hypotenuse will always be x times root 2. So an example of that would be something like this. Let's say I had a right triangle with two legs that are congruent, and they are 3. The hypotenuse will always be 3 times root 2. Now what if we had a triangle where the legs are not given, but rather the hypotenuse, such as this here. Let's say that this is 5. Well, we know that, let's call this x. What would x be if we have a 45, 90 degree triangle? I'm going to have to work backwards here. I know that the hypotenuse is going to equal whatever the legs are times root 2. So that becomes the problem that I have to solve. X times root 2 equals 5. And to solve for x, I have to divide by root 2 on both sides. And remember that you cannot have a radical in your denominator. So we have to multiply, or we have to rationalize the denominator. When we do that, we get 5 root 2 in my denominator, and I get, well, root 2 times root 2 is root 4. Root 4 is 2. So that is the value of x for this problem. This only works if we have a 45, 90 degree triangle. Well, what if we had let's do something like this. What if we had a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle? If the short leg is 3, and we know this is the short leg because it's opposite the smallest triangle, which is 30, we know the hypotenuse will always be double the short leg, double. So in this case, hypotenuse is 6. And the longer leg, or the leg opposite to the 60 degree angle, will be the short leg, 3, times root 3. Always. So whatever the short leg is, you multiply that times root 3 and you get the long leg. Get this only applies to the 30, 60, 90 degree triangles. I hope this is making sense. Let's do something similar, but let's do a problem where the hypotenuse is given to us. Hypotenuse, and we have a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. The hypotenuse here is 10. Well, again, recall the hypotenuse is double the short leg, so the short leg has to be 5, and the longer leg has to be 5 root 3, and this is a 5. Okay? Let's do another problem. Let's do something like this. Let's say I had a right triangle, and I had A, B, C, and let's say this is 10, this is 8, 6. Let's find the sine of A, cosine of A, tangent of A. Well, recall that sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So let's start with this angle, A. Opposite to that will be 6 over hypotenuse 10, which is equal to 3 over 5. Cosine is going to be adjacent, so 8 over 10, and we know that equals to 4 over 10. Tangent will be opposite over adjacent, and that equals to 3 over 4. Okay, so recall these three. This is where we get our SOHCAHTOA. Sine, cosine, tangent. Sine opposite over hypotenuse, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent opposite over adjacent. Now let me ask you this. What if I was looking for the measurement of angle A? Well, how do we find the angle measurement of A? I'm going to utilize any of these trig ratios to find that answer. And I'm going to start with, I'm going to do sine. I know that sine of A equals, well, I already found it up here. Sine of A is 3 over 5. 3 over 5. Okay, so I need to isolate, or I need to solve for A. Recall that to solve for a variable, you have to utilize the inverse operation. In this case, the inverse of sine is just that, sine inverse. Sine inverse on both sides. Sometimes some books refer to inverse of sine as arc sine. Just know that they are the same thing. So we have A equals sine inverse of 3 over 5. So use your calculator to find out what that is. And that happens to be about 30, so A equals about 36.9 degrees if you round to the nearest tenth. So that is the measurement of angle A in this problem, angle A, 36.9 degrees. Now, to find the measurement of angle B, what we have to do is add 36.9 plus 90, and then subtract that from 180. Or you can also do another trig ratio, such as, you can start with that. So sine of B equals opposite over adjacent, 8 over 10. And do the same thing, do the inverse on both sides. And you will get your answer, which in this case, it happens to be roughly about 53.1 or 53.1 degrees, roughly, give or take. I just did that mentally, so 53.1 degree, that would be B. I hope this makes sense. Please ask questions if you have any. Comments, concerns, please let me know. Have a great day.